Wonderful. Well, Giselle, go ahead and screen share for us and I can kick us off. First of all, we want to say thank you so much for being here, whether you're here live with us on February 1st or watching the recording later. We are very excited to talk about transfer students in general, as well as transfer students at our campus. My name is Katherine Lawlor. I use she, her pronouns, and I serve as the Transfer Jacks coordinator at Northern Arizona University. I have Giselle Soto with me. She is a graduate assistant and the Transfer Jacks co-supervisor. I do want to let you know this is her first time presenting a national conference, so I really hope that you all are really supportive and just extend her a lot of praise and gratitude for being a graduate student presenter here today. On this slide, you will see pictures of 4 of our transfer students. They do happen to be Transfer Jacks mentors as well, and several of them serve as our Tau Sigma Honor Society executive board members.
All right, so welcome to a presentation, Portraits of Success. We're going to start off by doing a quick land acknowledgement. So Northern Arizona University sits at the base of the San Francisco Peaks on the homelands sacred to Native Americans throughout the region. We honor their past, present, and future generations who have lived here for millennia and will forever call this place home. Alrighty, so about us.
Well, like I mentioned, my name is Katherine. I am a 4-year to 4-year transfer student. I'm originally from Virginia, so I went from a small college. When I say small, I was a D3 athlete for track and field. For a college, I was about 2,500 students. And once I got injured, I didn't have a purpose of being there anymore. So fun fact about myself as well, I'm a triplet. So my siblings and I all went to college at the same time, and we're all first-gen transfer students. I transferred to a large private online university. So two-thirds of my degree were completed online. Like I mentioned, first generation college graduate. I was a student with a disability and I was a Pell eligible student.
Hi, I'm Giselle Soto. I am the graduate assistant for the Transfer Jacks program and the co-supervisor for our mentors. I started off at NAU in 2017 and joined our program, our Transfer and Online Connections program in 2018. I started as a commuter student, which was a part of our program. So I started as a participant in the program and then got hired on as a mentor in 2018. So just about 5 years. And then I graduated in 2020 with a degree in communication studies and Spanish before I started as a GA in the program. I'm currently studying school counseling and clinical and mental health counseling. I should be graduating this spring, so yay. I'm also a low-income first-generation student. Yeah. All right, let's get into it. So this is our team. This is a photo from our fall training. Transfer Jacks is one of the many student affairs programs here at NAU. We were established about 11 years ago, so 2011, 2012. So every year we hire between 10 to 15 student employees, and we try to get as representative of our student population as possible through our mentors. We work through community-based leadership, and what that means is we try to follow less of a hierarchical structure, which is why Katherine and I are co-supervisors. And we do that to make sure that our student voices are being heard. We work together to make sure that we're taking all of the feedback that our students are giving us, our mentors are giving us, and so it's more of a circular community-based model. All right, so for our vision and mission, we wanted to include this because we just reevaluated our goals and our mission over the summer to make sure they were really really catering to our transfer students because they are such a unique population. So our vision for our program is to create a culture where transfer students are valued and thrive. Our mission we serve the Flagstaff Mountain students by building community and encourage personal goal setting throughout their time at NAU. And our goals are to provide a valuable peer mentoring experience, to advocate for our students by collaborating with campus partners to improve resources, and to create a sense of community through interactions, events, and spaces.
So we do want to talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion as far as how we as a mentoring program are involved in initiatives on our campus. So I, as a staff member, was asked to join our DEI Student Affairs Committee, which I'm very grateful. I've worked at 4 universities, so I certainly understand that not all colleges and universities even have this type of committee. We are now at NAU a Hispanic serving institution, and so I was asked to represent the transfer student population on our staff committee to talk about how enrollment for Hispanic Latinx students has declined for the transfer population. And so it's important for our mentoring program to show what people are enjoying and also be a part of admissions events that we'll talk about later. Some really important partnerships on our campus. Just so you have context, if you're not familiar with Northern Arizona University, the Flagstaff Mountain campus has anywhere between 20 to 30,000 students when you think about all the degree programs, graduate, doctoral. And so when you have all of that in the same city, we are a rather large public university versus I've worked at one of the smallest colleges in the nation with 300 students. So I certainly understand there's a difference that we're all representing here today. So partnerships at the university, we do work very closely planning events with the Office of Inclusion. It's really important for us to host social events that celebrate the culture of our students. And you'll see why as we talk about who our student population is. We also are very fortunate to have an Office of Indigenous Student Success. And so that's another group, and they've been really great to be a part because many of their staff members are transfer graduates. And they actually have their own space on campus too. And so we're grateful for the partnerships. We certainly are more than this, but they're key when it comes for us thinking of diversity, equity, and inclusion and making sure we represent the needs of the transfer population. Our university does require a diversity strategic plan, and we actually at the end of each year have to report what diversity related activities did our mentoring program do. And this is the first university I've worked at where I'm required to do that on a yearly basis. And so that's something that we think through. It's not just something that we actually report. We are a part of contributing to that diversity strategic plan for our department, the Division of Student Affairs, for the university as well to represent transfer students. And then on this slide, I also want to talk about the Transfer Jack Success Scholarship. This is something that was just started, and it's because of Giselle and our Jacks Online. So we mentioned earlier, our department is Transfer and Online Connections. So underneath that department is 2 mentoring programs, the Transfer Jacks program for the Flagstaff Mountain, as well as the Jacks Online mentoring program for NAU Online campus students. And so we have this because it was really important for us to establish a scholarship for students that are participating in our program. Now it's only one scholarship per semester. So the first semester we offered this was last spring, in spring 2022. We actually had a small number of people apply. It was 17 for one. At the time it was $500. We now are able to give $1,000 because of the Office of Scholarships and Financial Aid giving that funding to us. It's not something that we have to raise. And so this fall, out of all of our program participants, we had over 120 students apply for this scholarship. So they had a 1 in 120 chance of winning. And we are very excited that a non-traditional transfer student actually won this scholarship. And what's unique about it is the eligibility. As you're familiar with financial aid policies, some people give out scholarships based on merit, whether that's the GPA or some other cultural based representation, or it could be based on needs based, so someone's income. But ours, it was important for the eligibility to be open to anyone who participates in our mentoring program. So there's not a GPA requirement. There is not a needs-based requirement. If they meet with their mentor twice during their first semester at NAU and submit a very short application, it's just showing that they are interested in receiving the scholarship, then that's all they have to do. It's 2 steps. And then the last step, I should say, is if someone wins, they do a very short financial aid workshop that we have pre-recorded for 30 minutes, and answer a couple questions. But we try to make it as simple as possible, but this is related to diversity and inclusion here on our campus because we changed the eligibility requirements.
So who do we serve? Transfer totals, we have here about 700 incoming transfer students in the fall semester. And then we serve about 200 incoming transfer students in the spring semester. And when you take that into consideration, about 10.5 of our Flagstaff Mountain campus are transfer students. And this doesn't account for the 80% of online students who are also transfer students. So before each semester starts, we look at our incoming transfer students and we do our best to pair each student with a mentor that is relatively close to their academic college or their non-traditional status. So a non-traditional student is someone who is 24 years or older. And we do that just to make sure that they're getting an accurate peer experience. And in the past year, we also just started a new thing where we give students who participate in our program a lapel pin for graduation in an effort to increase visibility of our transfer students at graduation, because that's something we want to celebrate. We want to celebrate their unique journey and their time here at NAU. I'll have Katherine continue. Who do we serve?
Certainly. So out of our transfer population on this campus, 68% are Arizona residents. And so that means, you know, a certain population of out of state. When you think of Arizona and the geography of the region, very common for us to have California community college transfers or various four-year transfers as well. There's also something called WUI, the Western, I always forget what that stands for, but it's a Western discount for students that are from near states. So instead of them paying out of state, they pay 1.5. So even though it says 68% Arizona, it feels like there's a big out of state population that participates in our program because they're trying to get adjusted to Arizona, the northern part of Arizona and Flagstaff itself. Our average age for on-campus students is 23 years old, and the GPA of those who are program participants has been 3.27, and 44% of this year program participants are first generation college students, which is something we're both passionate about, and 40% of this year's program participants are students of color. In the program meetings, so that you know what we're talking about with transfer students, because, you know, each mentoring program, there's many mentoring programs throughout the nation. Some are paid and some are unpaid mentoring program. Some are peer programs, some are faculty or staff-led programs. So it's really important for our peer mentors to talk about SMART goals as they're meeting with them. Something unique to NAU that I didn't experience before coming here is we actually do what's called midterm and non-enrollment cases. So our mentors will be informed if their mentees have 2 grades of D or F at the midterm point, and they do outreach to those students to try to turn that around, because we know that retention and graduation rates will be better if we try to appropriately address those low grades as soon as we know about them. And so that's something that we do here. Non-enrollment means they haven't enrolled for the next semester. And of course, we want with retention for people to enroll in their classes. And so although we do have great academic advisors. Sometimes that peer support is really important as people are registering for classes, because our peer mentors may have taken similar classes, or they've had those professors that they're about to have for transfer students. When it comes to assessment, we really want to make sure that you understand, of course, we want to assess the effectiveness of our program, especially since we've been around for at least 11 years. We do 2 main surveys. So after someone's been here for 4 weeks, so during their first 4 weeks, we want to see how they're doing. We send out a survey called the Pulse Survey, and it's about how are they personally doing. So if the main thing that that we hear in this Pulse Survey is that they want to meet transfer students from their college. So whether that's the Franke College of Business, or someone in another college like College of Education. And so that means our mentors have to start thinking about how do we get students socializing with other college students. So the next one we do is called the participant survey, and that's how are we doing versus that first survey is how are the transfer students doing. So at the end of the semester, at the end of each semester, mainly fall and spring, since that's when we have most of our mentors here, we reach out to everyone who's either done 1 or 2 activities with us during the semester, and they can share about their experience with us as a program. So these are things that they said that their mentor did well. They're informative, supportive, encouraging, providing resources, make them feel comfortable at the university, especially with asking questions. They recommend involvement opportunities, and they were a relatable person for them to talk to.
All right, so we encourage our mentors to meet with their students at least twice a semester. And our transfer jacks really focus on 3 different things. So academic success, like Katherine mentioned, that we talk about SMART goals and midterm cases. We also focus on social connection here at the university because that's something that historically transfer students have wanted. And we also focus on creating a space for our students. And so we use a lot of our goals to focus our meeting with academic success. For social connections, we do that through events for the most part. So here are some of the events that we have put on in the past and do consistently. So our transfer student welcome, we do this at the beginning of both semesters. So in the fall, we usually have about 100 students. We actually just had our spring welcome event this week because of snow. And we had also pretty good attendance. Everyone had fun. It's a great chance for them to meet each other just because there's not as big of an emphasis on new students during the spring semester. But our transfer students are on a different track. So sometimes they come in at that time. National Transfer Student Week. We love to celebrate that here. We've been doing it for a past couple years. And as you all know, that's in October. Campfire and s'mores. So we just set up some fire pits out throughout campus and invite everyone to come get some hot chocolate, read some scary stories occasionally, some game nights, meals of the months, field trips. We want to connect them not only to our campus, but also the surrounding area. So we make an effort to take students to the Grand Canyon and to Sedona to do, to just get connected with Northern Arizona in general. And then some of our most popular events are things like our paint nights, our craft nights, which we do a couple times a semester. So in addition to our events, we like to create a space for students. So we have our transfer lounge here in the union. So in our transfer lounge, we have a variety of different things. We have regular tables, chairs for studying. We have a computer station where students can come and work, or they can come print assignments like in between classes. We have day use lockers because a lot of our students may not live on campus. So just to have somewhere to store their things in between classes. This is where we host a majority of our events and our student meetings. We also recently got a lot of new things to make the space more inviting, including a Nintendo Switch, We have a TV set up, so we're usually playing some sort of movie for them, or if there's like a big sporting event, like we have the World Cup on. So whatever we can do to make the space inviting, make them feel included and wanted and safe. We send out weekly event emails just to make sure that they're in the loop about what we're doing every week and where. It also gives them an opportunity to ask their mentors, like, should I go? Like, is it okay if I go alone? Can I bring a friend? So we do that every week. We also have our Tau Sigma National Honor Society, which we'll be doing induction in upcoming months. We also participate in the weekly tutoring program, and what that means is that if students meet with their mentor at least once a semester, then we pay for them to have consistent tutoring at our Academic Success Center. So they'll receive the same tutor at the same time every week, which for us is a little different than normal tutoring, where they could show up and just have random tutoring times, a different tutor each week. So we pay for them to have that, just to aid in their success throughout the semester. We also participate in transfer orientations during the summer, as well as early in the year for spring semester. And we also have NAU 102, which is our transition class that we offer incoming transfer students. And that's the ins and outs of the university, how to be successful, and really address any of those transitional issues, such as technology, any social issues, transfer issues, that sort of deal.
So since we have been around, we want to show you what it's looked like for participation as well as engagement. We consider engagement for someone to be with us at least once, interacting at a social event or in a mentoring meeting. So we've had the information since 2012, and then we're in our current year, so we don't have that information to share yet. We do receive regular emails from our university about what is the transfer retention and graduation rates looking like, because it's measured for us. How is the Transfer Jacks mentoring program doing compared to the rest of the student population? And if someone participates in our mentoring program, they have a higher GPA, they have a higher percentage when it comes to retaining them, and there's a higher percentage, or more likely is a better term. They're more likely to graduate if they participate in our program, which is why we continue to exist here at the university, why we continue to receive university funding and are able to pay both staff, have a graduate assistant, and then our awesome peer mentors. So just a general overview, when it comes to interacting with a transfer student one time, as you've most likely interact with transfer students, sometimes it's hard to actually convince students to be a part of a mentoring program or even a social event, because they're like, I am here and focused on my academics. And so we're like, that's great. We want to support you on that. And we want to make sure you're doing well overall, and making sure that you're socializing. So this is what it's looked like overall. We are very excited to report that we are even at a higher place than we were last year. And so we're even succeeding compared to last year. Obviously, all of us are coming out of the pandemic. So as you see this dip in 2020, no surprise there. And so this year, when we report our interactions with students, it's going to be higher because people are excited to come back. Mostly in person. We do some hybrid things because of our JAX Online population and trying to bring those transfer students together across the campuses. So next we'll talk about participation. So program participation means they've interacted with us at least twice, whether that's 2 mentoring meetings with their mentor, 2 events, or 1 mentoring meeting and 1 event. And so this is our goal. Like, we're happy about engagement, and it's always good to see that a student came and interacted with us once, but we're trying to get people in the door twice, because those who interact with us twice, like I mentioned, are more likely to be successful at our university. And this is what I measured on as the primary coordinator for the program. And so I'm also happy to report that we are seeing higher numbers of participation already this year. And I think that has to do with some social media stuff we're going to talk about here in a moment. And I hope that encourages you that if you're trying to interact with transfer students, they're seeming more excited to be interacting with the university events and mentoring again.
Yes, in efforts to really increase that engagement and participation, we have really ramped up our technology use in the last year, I would say. So one way we were able to do this, we actually received a NASPA Virtual Innovation Award, while NAU received about $50,000 as the Department of Student Affairs. We applied for some of that funding and received $4,000, which we put towards different pieces of technology in order to be able to have a more comprehensive social media and to create our Transfer Talks podcast, which I'll talk about in a second. So we do have Instagram and TikTok. We have a committee made up of our mentors dedicated to our social media and creating content to make sure that students are up to date on what we're doing and when, and just any fun things that we're doing. We recently started our Transfer Talks podcast, and this is a lot of student stories. So the transfer experience, transfer terminology. We have several episodes. I can't remember off the top of my head, but we have several episodes up already. And we have already started to see results and see how many listeners we have each week. So that's very exciting. Our mentors also put together a blog with different areas depending on what's happening at the university, what time of the semester it is, more student stories, experiences, and unique inputs, like when we had phrasing escapes me, but really focusing on student experiences through our blog and our podcast. All right, so because we have time, we're going to play a little video that we created during National Transfer Student Week in order to celebrate our students. It's about 5 minutes. Yes, very cute. Let me know, like, with thumbs up if you're able to hear it. I think I pushed the buttons, but I always got to make sure.
Hello, my name is Hannah Palu. I am currently a junior here at NAU, and I transferred from a school in Northern California.
Hi, my name is Jennifer. I am a transfer student from Pima Community College.
Hey y'all, my name is Cassie Riddle. I am a transfer senior student from Washington State University, and then I transferred over to Coconino and did the CC to NAU program.
Hi, I'm Janine. I'm a senior studying business management, and I transferred to NAU in the fall 2019 semester from the University of Hawaii at Hilo.
Hi everyone, my name is Cora Brown, and I am actually a Transfer Jack peer mentor with the Transfer Jacks and Online Connections.
What led me to choose NAU was based off the community that I had and all of the opportunities in my degree that I would be able to gain from going to NAU.
I wanted to move away from home and grow as a person and experience what college life is and experience new events and new things.
I chose NAU because it is a medium-sized university. It is not too big, not too small. Also, being from the desert, I wanted to experience the 4 seasons. And lastly, because NAU was the only university to offer the program that I was interested in.
The Transfer Jacks program was such a significant resource in adjusting to NAU. A lot of it had to do with my mentor. It was the idea of knowing that I had someone to go to about anything and everything. Allowed me to become super comfortable very quickly with being at NAU. For example, if I had a question about learning how to use Louie or BB Learn, or just needing someone to talk to when I felt homesick. It was such a comforting thought in the back of my head, knowing that I had someone.
The Transfer Jacks program has helped me adjust here at NAU by giving me a resource. My peer mentor and I have met various times, and it's been really nice to have somebody to talk to and somebody that has any information about resources, clubs, organizations on campus that I should get involved in.
The Transfer Jack program has really helped me feel more comfortable at this university with opening new doors for me and also getting me more involved throughout campus.
My favorite memory as a transfer student was when the Transfer Jacks had an arts and craft night near Halloween. I got to paint a little gold pumpkin, and I also got to meet other transfer students that had similar experiences as me. So we got to bond and chit-chat the entire night while painting pumpkins.
My most favorite memory from the Transfer Jack program would include my talk with the mentor. She was very motivational and made me feel more welcomed at NAU.
My favorite memory being a part of the Transfer Jacks program is becoming a mentor myself. It is such a fun and rewarding job, and though it is a job, I enjoy being able to be such a huge resource for all of these incoming transfer students and being able to relate to their experiences. I also have gotten the privilege to work with some of the most amazing people with being a mentor, and these are also some people that I know will be my friends for the rest of my life.
A piece of advice that I would give a new transfer student coming to NAU would be to just get out there. I am a very introverted person, but my first week here at NAU, I really tried to make myself attend club meetings and go out to events. Even if I didn't know anybody, I pushed myself to go, and it paid off. I met a bunch of amazing people in my department, and I'm very happy I did.
For me, it took me a while to get out there and get involved and get to meet people. So my advice is get involved and meet with your peer mentor. Your peer mentor will be able to give you programs and resources that you are interested in so that you can get involved and you can meet people and just feel welcomed and feel included in the university.
I would recommend to future transfer students or students that are thinking about transferring to make sure that all of your transfer credits do get transferred over and to only enroll yourself into courses that are needed and not recommended. And also to just keep your head up and keep getting involved in campus as much as you can.
A piece of advice I would give to transfer students would be to talk to the people that are there for you as a resource. What sincerely got me through the almost 4 years I've been at NAU was constantly talking to my advisor when I had questions about anything class related, talking to my mentor when I first came to NAU to help me adjust to being on my own and being in a completely new environment, and talking to different people with campus resources as far as to like the career development office to help me improve my resume, and having opportunities like the career fair to get a head start on my career after graduation. These resources are there for you on campus, and I genuinely think that anyone and everyone should take advantage of that when they can. It's there, use it.
Go and meet with your Transfer Jack peer mentor. They are here to help you, which we are here to help you all. And work hard, study hard, take the time. It's okay to not understand everything all at once. It's a big adjustment, and just know that the Transfer Jack team is here to support.
Oh, goodness. All right, so that was our student stories video that we put out during our National Transfer Student Week. We do these videos and our blogs and our podcast on a volunteer basis. And I can say that right now we have a long wait list of podcasts to record for our students. I think that really goes to show like our students really want to be heard.
All right, so we do need to leave time for question and answers at the end, but we did want to, bring you a part of the conversation. That's the important aspect of having a session like this, because like I mentioned, either you're coming from a 2-year or 4 institution that may not have a transfer specific mentoring program, or you may have one, but ours may look different than yours. And so we just wanted to see, how is the video funded? We made it ourselves. So as far as how we received specific funding for that video, we could go to NEU marketing, and we just have to ask them in 30 days, and they don't charge our department to make a video, but all of those students recorded themselves and our mentor put that video together. So we paid the mentor to do that, but we didn't have to pay to make a nice video like that, because we're figuring these things out as our own, as a team, and taking the time that we already use for the Transfer Jacks mentoring program. So I do want to hear from you for a couple minutes. What type of transfer supports are you offering during the first semester? Because that's one of the themes that we chose for this session here. And is there anything that you heard from our presentation that you would want to try to implement at your university? So feel free to raise your hand or put it in the chat, and we'd love to have a conversation that's just not us talking at you. We want to involve you at this point. Try out a pulse survey. If our team gives permission, you're very welcome to ask us for what ours looks like. I saw Bernard's hand up. Do you want to say something?
Yes, I had a question about, by the way, this was fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
So glad I got to sit through this. I had a question about your scholarships, your transfer scholarships that you mentioned earlier. I love that you don't include a GPA as a qualification. Are those scholarships that you were mentioning though, are they admission scholarships that the students are applying for or qualify for through the admission, or they're after they've enrolled?
That's an excellent question. It's actually not an admission scholarship. There are admission scholarships, and you can see that on NAU's webpage, because there's a couple of different transfer scholarships, not as many as first year, and they noticed that. But admissions does have transfer scholarships. This one specifically for individuals, this is an opt-out mentoring program. So all transfer students for the most part are put into our mentoring program and get contacted by one of our mentors. We do take out veterans because we have a Vet Jacks mentoring program here on campus, but most veterans happen to be transfer students. And so this was something that Giselle, actually as a graduate assistant and our Jacks Online graduate assistant, went to the Office of Scholarships and Financial Aid and said, do you have any money for us? Can we start a scholarship on our own? Now, in order to grow it further, we're going to need to do some fundraising or ask the Office of Scholarships and Financial Aid for more money. But they originally were going to give us $500 per semester, one for a transfer student, one for a Jacks Online student, which was going to be about $4,000 for the year. And they increased it already. And so we're hoping to continue to see little increases. But they received that money actually from the NEU Foundation, which means donors have given money towards certain projects, and they chose to fund the idea of a graduate assistant. So isn't that pretty awesome that they understand the student experience and brought this up?
That's amazing. Wow. Thank you.
Of course. I do see some questions in the chat. If I don't see your hand raised, I'm just going to keep going in the chat right now. So does your program last through the student's time at the university or the first term? It's a transition program, and so we are focused primarily on the first semester and first year. And they are welcome to be a part of our events, our field trips, our mentoring for the duration that they're here. It's just after the first semester, first year, it's very hard to get transfer students still involved other than the social events. And they're coming back right now for the Transfer Talks podcast. So those that are graduating are wanting to share their student stories. So I think that's really cool. Do all new transfer students get mentors? I answered that a little bit. It is an opt-out program, which means yes, they are all assigned except for that veteran population, because NAU has a robust mentoring programs. There's actually 8 to 13 different mentoring programs on this campus. And so we're focused specifically on the transfer student population. If someone was pulled out into Vet Jacks, they can still come to our events, they can still come to our field trips, but because of VA benefits, although I know about that, our mentors are not trained on that. So we want to make sure they get to veteran military services to get appropriate information about military benefits. How many hours do your mentors typically work spending with students? They can have up to 20 hours a week. we always tell them that they should work at least 10 hours a week to be successful with their students. So when we are hiring, we tell them they can have anywhere between 10 to 20 hours a week. They average 15. There are some students that do want the 20 hours a week, and we do provide those opportunities for them so that we can retain them as mentors. But they typically don't work more than 20 hours a week because that's a policy within the Division of Student Affairs, so they can still be academically successful. Are mentors paired one-on-one, or do mentors have more than one mentee? That's a good question about caseload. So in the fall semester, where we talked about bringing in 700 new transfer students, when we have 10 to 15 mentors, that means they have 40 to 60 to up to 70 students that they're reaching out to. We try to keep it in the 40 to 60 caseload range for the fall. And then the spring semester, their caseload is between 15 and 30 students. And the reason that you want that as low as possible, and not to get too high, is because those first 4 weeks is when we get the most meetings with our transfer students. So if they had 100 and they don't have enough hours, then if we have 100 mentees and there's that one mentor for that group, we want to make sure we're being successful with that one-on-one connection. Let's see if I can get through this as quickly as possible. Those Transfer Talks podcasts could be used as a great testimonial impact when requesting additional funding from the foundation. Absolutely. We have a Transfer Tuesday event with crafts and info, 2 to 4 each week. Always have an academic advisor facilitating. Awesome. It would be great to have a peer mentor there as well. We've been discussing a transfer mentorship program, and we just talked about how many were assigned to each mentor. So about 40 to 60 or 15 to 30 in the spring. How many mentors do you have total? Currently, we have 8 for this semester. We had 12 in the fall. Ideally, we really need to be at 14 to 16 in the fall, and spring, it's totally fine if people drop off because some people only want to work in the fall semester. And so we still need to have about at least 8 in the spring semester. What kind of training? Great question. We actually require them to go through a course called NAU 299, Student Affairs Mentoring. We have chosen, instead of doing it as a 1 credit hour course for 5 weeks in the spring semester, like our other mentoring programs do, we actually teach it as a 1-week course in the summer. Based on how our hiring goes, it's better to teach it as a 1-week course in the summer. And that also means we get to pay them rather than giving them a 1 credit hour course. And so they've liked it better as transfer students. They'd rather get the money than the 1 credit hour. And we also bring them a week early to campus. And so Giselle and I, as the supervisors, do most of the training with them. And so from Tuesday to Thursday, from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., they are in training being paid from us. And then on that Friday, they have transfer orientation serving the new transfer students. They also do outreach, which means they make phone calls, they send emails and text messages during that time as well. So I have 7 years of call center experience, and so I make sure to teach them how to have those interactions. And so I see a comment here, currently work for a mentorship program that is very similarly structured. We struggle to get student engagement, even though our university is heavily populated with transfer. What do you recommend to increase engagement? So, that's what's been helpful about the pulse survey that we were talking about earlier. And I know I didn't go into it too much, but those types of questions at week 4 of someone's transfer experience of what do you want to see, that informs how we plan our events. And that's why we've been seeing increase, because we're really taking that transfer student experience and their perspective. And if they tell me, Katherine, I want more paint nights, I'm going to go buy more paint supplies. Obviously we don't have unlimited funding, but paint nights are low cost events. And so that's something we ask in the pulse survey. What kind of social events do you want to see? And that helps gauge things. Are all mentors previous transfer students? Such a great question. We try. That is our goal, is that they are transfer students, but we do have 3 phenomenal students that have transfer credit, which means they were dual enrollment students. And we teach them to say that they have transfer credit from a university or a 2-year community college. And that helps to normalize that they have a similar experience, even though it's not the same experience. And so, yes, we do have to hire people who aren't transfer, because Each of you will have with your institution, NAU pays a lower amount than the city of Flagstaff. Now it is still pretty high. We're at about $15.25 per hour for our student employees, but the city wage is $16.80 per hour for minimum wage. And so we do have a competition between our transfer students wanting to work on campus versus off campus. I know we have about 2 more minutes, so I know Bernard put the Qualtrics to give us feedback. Listen, this is my second time presenting at a national conference. This is Giselle's first time. Our hope is that you did have something that you take away from this, and we thank you for being here. As we still have about 2 minutes, I'll try to keep answering questions. So what is the size of your institution? What is the transfer incoming class size generally? So size, undergraduate population is about 21,000, because I heard admissions say this recently. Transfer class, so with 10%, that means about 2,000 transfer students total. What is the typical response rate? We used to have a lot higher response rate, and so we're talking about that right now because the poll survey used to get 200 students responding to it, and this past fall it was 50, and we're like, okay, something went amiss. How do we get back to 200? We do give out prizes like buying NAU mugs, giving out t-shirts that we've designed or a student has designed. Thank you for saying we did great. I appreciate all the thank yous. I'm trying to see if I answered all the questions. Do we offer incentives? Yes, that's where I mentioned we do spend some money on giving out prizes at our events. Squishmallows are a big thing, or squishmallows. I always forget how to pronounce that, but that is really popular with our students, and they come to events and hope to get a squishmallow. Giselle, you want to go ahead and say thank you to everybody?
Yes, thank you all so much. You had some really good questions. I hope that we were able to answer. I did a little bit of work in the chat. But thank you. This was a great experience.
And our contact information is in the slides that will be available as well, but we want to respect your time. Feel free to reach out to me. I do meet with people at other universities to provide contacts. And so if you want a 30-minute meeting, just ask me through email.
Thank you all for being here. Thank you to our presenters, Giselle and Katherine. This was a fantastic session. I hope you all enjoy the rest of this virtual conference. And don't forget to fill out the survey so they can know just how much you enjoyed the session, and give us your honest feedback. Thank you all so much. And again, this recording will eventually be available right back on that webpage, the conference webpage under this session. So take care, everyone.
Bye.